Hello, everyone. Welcome to my live channel. So far, it looks like it's just me. So, for this live stream, we were going to have Florida BJ on to debate us, but it sounds like he won't be joining us. He had some conflict, so maybe next time he can join. So instead, I was going to get everyone together and just go over some of the comments that we've seen on on the atheist experience comment section. So let me bring that up. All right. So we've had quite a few back and forth with Damonkey, with his inability to understand what the is-ought fallacy is. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit. So I had actually made a separate video on this to explain how he is dumb and misunderstanding the points that are being made. So, but I'll just go over some of the main points again because he recently posted this comment here. He's QC aka the mess. I'm not sure what kind of insult he's going for here with calling me the mess. Maybe it's something that has to do with his native language. Maybe that means something bad, whatever his language is. If anyone knows what DK's or the monkey's native languages is, let me know. I'm kind of curious. So he says that I'm going to prove normative statements don't apply to triangles, i.e., a triangle must have three sides, is false, according to me, who denies triangles can be demonstrated. I am not sure where he gets these kind of misunderstandings. I don't know if he just can't understand the language very well, but neither I nor any of the other commenters have said that normative statements or triangles don't have three sides. This was in context of the is-ought fallacy. So he's taking a is statement, which is a triangle has three sides, and then he's trying to change that into a normative statement, saying a triangle ought to have three sides. And I think that's because he doesn't quite understand what ought means in this case. Because it is the ought here is kind of a moral judgment, a value judgment. And triangle having three sides is not a value judgment. It's just a statement of fact. So it is kind of dumb or just completely misunderstanding what ought means when when he tries to put it into a normative statement. When he says a triangle ought to have three sides, it's not an ought. It's not an option for the triangle to not have three sides. It does have three sides. So anyway, he doesn't seem to want to address that point. So he keeps on creating this straw man argument that that we are arguing that a triangle doesn't have three sides, which is obviously wrong. So the next statement, or one of the replies from Neo, he points out that the monkey essentially changed the wording of his statement. Before he said triangle ought have three sides. Kind of this. Hold on, let me just add Blarg to the stage. Hello, hi Blarg.
G'day. Sorry, I'm running a few minutes late. It's the first fine day we've had for a little while. I had some yard work that I had to get done.
Has promised he is ready to have an honest conversation.
Yeah, no wonders. Oh, do you have the video running in the background?
With J Mike and what do you got for us?
Or something is running.
Hang on, I'll find out where the noise is. I'll mute myself and sort it out.
I know you two are atheists. I'd like to know.
It's not me, right? I don't think.
I was.
I was not.
Oh, I guess maybe it is me. Maybe it is playing. Sorry, Blarg. It might be me. Oh yeah, it is me.
Is it just you and I at the moment?
Yeah, it was me. It was. I think I had this issue last time. The audio from the tab was coming on. So yeah, welcome. Is this your first time to this stream, or were you here before?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, made the first one.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. You haven't
Couldn't
had a
make last
chance
week's.
to. You haven't had a chance to put avatar in for your.
Oh, I tried and for some reason it was not letting me.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I thought. Weren't you on before? Anyway, yeah. So no worries because you're actually the first one. I'm not sure why everyone else is running late. I think with the time zone difference, sometimes people have kind of confusion. But Jeebus did say he was going to come on, and I thought Neil was as well. But for now,
it is an hour earlier than it was last week. For me, anyway.
Oh, I guess I think like during this time there are different daylight saving time going on.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think you guys just went off daylight saving, so
Right.
we don't have it in Queensland.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that might be why there's some confusion because I think even last week that was the case, and I think someone had joined late as well. But yeah, not a big deal. I had just done the introduction where since I didn't have anyone on, I kind of was going over what Damonkey had put up about that whole is-ought fallacy. Were you following that? I'm not sure if you were commenting on any of those.
Yeah, I was following it a little bit. I don't know whether I had much time to add anything to it, but it's absolutely bog standard stuff from that fellow. It just word salad guff from one end to the other, pretending like he knows something. It just the is-ought has nothing to do with the fact of the matter that a word is defined as a if a word has a particular definition, it is the thing it is. There's no ought in there to be had, no matter what you do.
Yeah, so that's where I mean, I don't know if he just doesn't understand or whether he's doing it dishonestly, but when he says a triangle having three sides is some type of normative statement that a triangle ought to have three sides, it completely doesn't make sense. A triangle, there's no alternative. Yeah.
It's like saying a bachelor ought not be married, and you just go, well, no.
Right.
If they are married, they very specifically stopped being the thing.
Right, exactly. It just contradicts the definition for it to be otherwise. It's actually like a special category of information that a triangle having three sides or a bachelor being not married. Like from Kant's epistemology, he considers it an a priori knowledge. You don't have to have an experience of a triangle having three sides because by definition, the triangle has three sides. So it's analytically a truth value.
I've had conversations of that nature with him for some years. It's always the same thing. Just says some ridiculous guff statement. He'll hang on to that for a few days, and then he'll move on to the next ridiculous guff statement. Yeah, on and on for years.
Oh, one thing I might ask you. So he started calling me the mess. So here in I don't know if you can see the screen, but he says he has QC and then in parentheses, AKA the mess. I'm not sure where he's getting that. Is that some type of an insult
Yeah,
to
he
say
thinks
the
it is.
mess? Yeah, I thought maybe in his language it means something bad, but I was just kind of puzzled when he just started calling me the mess.
Yeah. I had another go at updating the avatar, and I can select a picture. I get to the screen where it shows you can crop the picture to fit the thing, and there's no button to move forward with it, so there's no way I can select
Oh, okay.
that. So that's the same problem I had the last time. I'm on a tablet, not on a
Okay.
laptop.
I wonder if this has to do with the resolution of the picture. But yeah, I didn't have much issues, and I know a few of the other guys were able to do it, but it might be, yeah, you might want to just try a different picture. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. It just you just have the blank avatar.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I in a lot of ways kind of stopped arguing with
Monkey.
Monkey, yeah, or Donkey
Yeah.
as I
Yeah.
prefer. It just there's just no real point.
Right.
It's you're just going to get the same thing. He'll just roll on to the new. Like I guess he's gone and perused something, and he's picked up a few words, and he throws a bit of word salad up as his new thing of interest.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
But that always seems to be the case. He's at some, word salad of the day kind of thing. So he'll
yeah,
come in, like bring some, like for a while it was that Hegel thing, and then it was Goethe, uh, and now he's kind of stuck on this is-ought thing, just because he thinks he has a counter to the is-ought fallacy, and his counter is a stupid example of, of a is statement that he just puts an ought in. So, but I don't know if you caught the other one. It's like, so he was trying to say that that his statement, the triangle ought have. So he says ought have, not ought to have. So he starts with triangle ought have three sides. And then he's saying that we are not agreeing with it. So he's saying that what we are saying is a triangle doesn't ought have three sides,
yeah.
which
That
which
ought
is
to
like,
have is thing is that the missing two in there is doesn't jar too badly for me. It's kind of a linguistic thing that Australians tend to do a little bit. We drop some or we sub vocalize and then kind of almost drop words out of it, and that particular two is one that more commonly doesn't seem. We tend to miss it somewhat anyway. So the point's still made, but it's still garbage.
yeah.
I saw some people talking about the two part of it. You should have a two in there, and it's the least of the concern, I think.
Yeah, but it's just like it's weird to say doesn't, whether you put a two or not, doesn't ought to have or doesn't
Yeah,
ought have. It's just kind of weird way
yeah,
to formulate
yeah,
that
yeah.
sentence.
It does. There's no ought in there. If a triangle doesn't have it, it's not a triangle by definition. There's no ought
Yeah.
in there. The only way you get to an ought is if you want a word to mean what you want a word to mean what it means, then you ought use the definition. So I suppose you can technically get there if you really want to try hard.
Well, I guess
But
one way that it could make sense is that let's say someone drew a shape and said it was a triangle, and it's not a triangle because it has four sides. So you could say a triangle ought to have three sides, right? So it could be kind of an informative statement, but it's not some kind
well,
of, you know,
no, a
um,
triangle must have. But if you want
yeah,
to follow linguistic convention, you ought to follow the linguistic convention. Use the definition.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but it's still not some kind of a moral statement. It's not a value judgment statement. You know, it's just pointing out a fact that a triangle has three sides. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, so we can kind of skip the monkey here. I did want to, so I'm not sure, is side boob or whether he's not going to come on here. I'll post the link to in the comments if anyone wants to connect in. I'm very sure Monkey isn't watching this stream, so I doubt he's going to be joining. And I am pretty sure Pokey isn't, and neither is Jim. So if anyone wants to join, there'll be kind of our regulars. Did you have like a specific topic or a comment that you wanted to go through, or because next I was going to go over Pokey's comment?
No, you go on. Do your thing.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been trying to get him on so that, you know, we can kind of address his, you know, essentially his spam, right? The same thing that he says over and over. So, um, you know, he would say, "Oh, you atheists, you have to provide the one fact that proves a godless reality." Which doesn't make sense because we have no fact that says that our current reality is a God reality. As far as we know, it's a godless reality because they can't provide any evidence of this being a God. And from, you know, not atheist point of view, but from a naturalistic point of view, everything we understand about nature is with naturalistic explanation. So, um, at in terms of like the preponderance of evidence, um, you know, we are in a godless reality. There is no evidence that this reality needs a God or is driven by God. And even if God does exist, it doesn't necessarily mean that this reality is somehow is a God reality. You know, for all we know, it's still a naturalistic, quote unquote, godless reality. So um, that I had kind of
Yeah.
said that to him before, but you know, obviously he's not going to respond to
In,
that.
in a lot of ways, you're also talking to a post there too. As
Yeah.
we established previously, Neppy is a thrice convicted fraud, and for some reason, he's also got an ego that means he's incapable. You know, it's essentially a Donald Trump style ego. He cannot accept anything other than him being correct, and yeah, it must have been a real nasty couple of days when he was convicted and told he's going to jail for not being correct. But yeah, he can't handle that, and so he doesn't tend to listen to anything. So he just keeps harping on. Like, for example, he's been using for probably the last 4 years, 5 years. He's been using the same Neppy version of the second law of thermodynamics,
Oh, right.
where essentially, and he's been told thousands of times how wrong it is, and so essentially his version is that entropy can't decrease, and that's where he just cuts it off. The problem you've got there is twofold. That's not the definition of entropy via the second law of thermodynamics. He leaves out in a closed system, entropy can't decrease. And you just go, well, a human body, a living organism, the earth are not closed systems, and we don't even know if the universe is a closed system. So we don't know ultimately what's happening with entropy across the whole universe. Further, he fails to understand that the word law in a physics, so in the realm of physics, doesn't mean what he thinks it means. Most people seem to think that the word law refers to something which is unbreakable, universal, and exists in all situations. But that's not true at all. There may be laws that are universal, but having something being called a law doesn't make it universal. So, for example, the first law of thermodynamics, that energy can't be created or destroyed, isn't a law that is universal. It's a law that applies within a set of, there's a scope around that law, and that scope requires that the space-time in which it's operating is not changing. So, for example, as I've put up on a few occasions, there's a mathematician/physicist, one of the sort of great and few female greats in the field. So Noether's theorem has that wherever there's a reversible system, wherever there's a symmetry, there's a conserved quantity. In the case of the universe, if you were to do an experiment and measure the length of a photon of the microwave background radiation 13 billion years ago, and you were to measure the same background radiation today, you'll get different answers. It's not symmetric. It's not the same because something has changed, and that's the size and scale of the universe. It's not a linear system. So as a result, that is not a conserved quantity within the universe. It's a conserved quantity on Earth. It's a conserved quantity in gravitationally bound space-time, but it's not a conserved quantity for the universe or for the larger scales. And we can see that by the fact that the microwave background radiation, when it was emitted, had a temperature essentially around about 3,000 Kelvin, which meant the photons would have roughly looked about like what we call warm white light today. So it's not daylight, that's around 6,500 Kelvin, and warm white. So it's between warm white and cool white, about 3,000 Kelvin. Currently, that black body radiation has a temperature of around 2.7 Kelvin, meaning that it's lost 99.91% of all the energy. So the photons that left 13.8 billion years ago on their way to us have lost over 99% of their energy along the way. It didn't get converted into anything. It didn't go away. It didn't get transferred to something else. It just disappeared because the situation now is not the same as it was when it was left. So he doesn't understand that laws aren't universal. They're also typically just an approximation. So, for example, the Newton's law of gravity. That's a great simple piece of mathematics that describes gravity that's applicable to just about everything you and I will do on any given day in our life, but it won't help you navigate to Mars, and it won't make GPS satellite positioning system work correctly. So it's a law that has a scope, and that scope isn't universal. So again, he's not interested in knowing these things. He's not interested in truth. He's only interested in pushing his ego.
Yeah, and the thing is, he has such a shallow understanding of the science. So everything he's kind of spewing out is just, he probably read it somewhere on Answers in Genesis or some Discovery Institute thing. But I've seen other people talk about this whole, the second law of thermodynamics being, proof of God or whatnot. And it's just completely ridiculous. First of all, I think I had posted this, but life essentially requires that you have the capability to reverse entropy, right? Otherwise, you're going to die.
Yeah, locally.
Your cells won't be able to function, right?
Yeah, Nebby makes the argument, or makes the claim that entropy didn't exist prior to the fall of humanity in the Garden of Eden. Now that's an
Yeah, that was
interesting
funny.
claim. Hey, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's when I see that, it's so hilarious too.
Yeah.
First
So
of all,
he
how does he even figure that out?
Yeah. Well, this is his thing. He said everything was perfect, and entropy is a failure of perfection. It's the damage that occurred as a result of the curse. And you just
Yep.
go, okay, nice theory. We got some problems with it. One, entropy is a required component of friction. So, which is where the heat comes from. So, entropy is locally decreased when atoms are pushed closer together. So that's why when you compress gas with your bicycle pump, the pump gets hot. It's because the molecules of gas are getting pushed closer together, entropy is decreasing, and heat has got to be released in the process. It's why computers can never be without heat, because whenever you take two inputs from, say, an AND gate and convert them into a single output, you've taken two pieces of information and turned them into one. That's a decrease in Shannon entropy. That is also results in a release of energy. So anywhere where entropy is lowered, energy has to be released, heat has to be released. So,
Well,
so
he
the
he
friction.
says something completely wrong when he says that when a cell replicates, it the he says it becomes colder, it loses heat because it's losing information and entropy is increasing, which completely doesn't make sense.
No, that don't
When
make
a
any sense.
Yeah, when a cell
It
it
requires heat to
well
undertake all of those processes.
well,
Um,
it requires energy, right? You have
yeah,
it needs to essentially consume all the ATP and the kind of different
yeah.
electron sources,
And
and that generates heat because you don't have 100% efficiency.
what you're also doing is you're taking um, uh, amino acids, you're taking nucleic acids, and those are they were floating around loosely, and they're being so when you pull apart a DNA molecule in the process of meiosis, you end up with a single strand, and then the cellular mechanism comes along and fills in the other side of the strand um, in that sort of process. So you end up with two.
Yeah,
That
but all that actually
reduces local
requires
entropy.
energy.
Yeah, that's reducing entropy because those were
Right.
mixed loosely, and now they're in a much more so the total amount of information required to describe their position and behavior prior to them being connected to the DNA molecule was much greater than after they've been connected to the DNA molecule. They can only be in one place once they've been connected to the DNA molecule. Before that, they could be anywhere within the cell. So entropy decreases, heat is released.
Well,
So
he says that every time I guess for each generation you lose information, right? He says evolution is losing information, and his idea
yes,
is
he
that
also
when
makes
you have
that
an
claim.
offspring, yeah, he's saying that an offspring is just essentially the same information as from the parents because it's information just being rearranged, which is a stupid view of what information is, right?
Yeah, he's not interested in that either. But yes, he also makes the claim that Adam, prior to the fall, had perfect DNA, which is
Yeah,
proven
right.
by the fact that people in the olden days used to live 900 years. And you go, no, they didn't. It's a standard trope of that era for anyone famous. So the Babylonian kings lived for thousands of years, even though the next king took over like 20 years after the first one started. And you just go, there's a disconnect there. And it's just part of the sort of mythology of this God King style way that rulers worked in that era.
Yeah. Well, actually, going back to the point about entropy starting after the fall of man, uh, theologically, that also, is problematic because, uh, essentially, God isn't just punishing Adam and Eve for their quote unquote sin. God is punishing not just other animals, but he's he's punishing the entire universe, right? If prior to that fall there was no entropy, and then he put in entropy as a punishment, then he's punishing everyone, everything in the whole entire universe, which
Yeah,
again is nonsensical.
it's one of the. It's definitely one of my personal favourite proofs that the Christian God doesn't exist. Based upon the fact that apparently this Christian God is meant to be, all loving, but when two kids lied to him, he chucked such a tantrum that he decided to torture everything that exists from there on in. And you just go, what the actual fuck? Somebody like that would end up, that goes well so far beyond sociopathy. It's ridiculous. You know, there's no chance that such a human being would remain out of jail.
Right. I'm sure he oh, by the way, you had said that, he was convicted 3 times, but as far as I know, he was only convicted twice.
One of them contained two charges or two
Uh,
components to it.
oh, okay, that's how you're counting it. I mean, I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think each time there are multiple charges because he actually, appealed some of his convictions, and some of the charges were actually overthrown. So, um
Yeah, but only based upon the fact that they didn't get the conviction done or didn't get um, the charging done prior to the running out the clock. So it's
yeah.
not like he didn't do the thing; he just did it slightly further back in time than the law is allowed to arrest him for, which is one of the most ridiculous things. I don't think that makes any sense whatsoever. If you've got the evidence to prove someone did it, it doesn't matter if they did the thing in 1950. Honestly,
I
you
mean,
know,
the reason for the, what is that called?
statute of
Oh,
limitation.
oh yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember that, but
No,
the
I
statute
couldn't
of
at the moment
limitation
either.
is there for a reason, because you don't want to be convicted where it'll be difficult for you to even defend yourself. If there might have been information available, but after 10 years, it's hard to get that information. So,
Yeah,
or
look,
like
I
people
understand
not
some of the
having
argument.
memory. Was
I
that?
understand some of the argument, but in a lot of these cases, there is plenty of evidence. The evidence is all there, but then they're prevented from charging on the basis of it. Like it's fair enough. You can make the argument. So the case occurred, and in actuality, they break that rule in numerous places anyway, because certain crimes, the statute of limitations been removed.
Yeah,
Crimes against children,
yeah,
murder, these sorts of things. The statute of limitations has been removed, and so all of the arguments which would apply to, say, the rationale for a statute of limitations on a financial crime should apply to those as well. But we decide no, they're serious enough. We'll just ignore those reasons. Yeah. No, I think if you've
yeah.
got if there's a good solid case, there should not be any statute of limitations. The fact is, if you committed a crime sometime in your life, you don't get to um, get home free just because you managed to run out the damn clock.
Yeah, but his prison stint was he just had 2 prison stints, but the first
Yeah,
one was
correct.
definitely a lot more, uh, probably because of a lot more charges. I'm actually
Yeah, there was.
surprised that his second sentence wasn't that long because, at that point he was already a felon. So
Yeah,
you would think they would have kind of been more harsh with him.
I suspect it's the what they had to work with was a lot less. You know,
Yeah.
the first one was a mountain of crime,
Right.
because you really do have to do a lot of crime to go to jail for those lengths of time for fraud.
Well, racketeering, right? That means
Yeah,
it was kind of organized, and it was
yeah,
more than
organized
just
fraud.
him.
Yeah, yeah. It's a whole pile of yeah. It's not just you. You know, discovered an ATM that is spitting out 50s instead of 20s, and you rang your buddy and said, "Quick, get over here and take some money out. You get extra money." That is fraud, and people did go to jail for that exact situation, but you wouldn't get a racketeering charge on that particular case.
Right. Yeah. All right. And I did send out an email, and I'm not sure if I sent it to you, but I was trying to get more information uh, on Damonkey. If it seems like no one really knows anything about him, but I thought Ook knew something about him.
Yeah,
Um,
Oog keeps a good list. I've got a long list of names for him. So,
but do you know, like, oh, lost you there. Right. Looks like I lost Blarg. All right. Let's see some of the other comments that I can't seem to. Oh, I know he was on a different video making a lot of comments. So,
I hit the back button and dropped off.
oh yeah, yeah. That thing is it's not the best. I mean, it's just a web thing. So yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's yeah.
that happened.
I've had that happen.
Yes, I was going to post something up in the chat, see if I can get his list of some of the names I've got for him.
But you don't have anything that's even close to what his real name might be, right?
Don't think so. Hang on, let's see. Yeah, no. So I've got this this list. So obviously the Damon Kennys. He did have an account for a while, which was a particularly annoying account called "Trans is a Mental Illness."
Oh
Now,
wow, no, I've never
yeah,
seen that.
yeah. Now the difficulty with that particular one is if you hit reply to anything it wrote, your reply immediately got deleted by the YouTube algorithm,
Oh
because those words trigger an immediate deletion of the thing. But that same algorithm let him use that as a name.
yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I've gone and listed it as trans is a m dot 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 I dot dot dot.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, by the way, Jason put up a comment saying, "Didn't DK call in and get wrecked by Matt shortly before he started regularly commenting?" Do you know anything about that? Did he actually call in?
don't remember. Who keeps pretty good records, so he's definitely the person you need for this particular thing. So whereas my records aren't as careful. Also have some difficulty with accessing more recent stuff, so it's a little bit annoying. But anyway, he's Oops keeps more meticulous on that. There was another guy who had that happen, so he's the 10 minutes underwater guy. I know a fair bit about that one, about that particular person. But yes, he rang in. You really, if you haven't watched the video, look for. He's from Oregon. Trying to think of what his name is. Comment.
Wait, who is this guy you're talking about?
He's someone we don't see anymore. He's dropped off, but he was
Okay.
one where that definitely happened. He called into the show and got absolutely destroyed by Matt Dillahunty, just pulverized. And
Okay.
with this ridiculous 10 minutes underwater, you have to watch the thing. And then afterwards, he spent the next 6 months just foaming at the mouth with anger. And he's another one of these guys, a little bit like Sparty. The guy is he's a gay Christian,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, he loathes himself with such passion that he takes it out on everyone else around him. And I know that I know this, that he's gay, because he took a I found his Facebook page, and in that it had a post back around 20 years ago. He took a solemn vow of celibacy to
Oh my
avoid
gosh.
the temptation because of his sexual orientation. And as a result, yes, he's been a single, frustrated man his whole life, and then he rings into the show, and Matt tears his argument just completely asunder. It just, it was bad.
Hmm. Oh, so
So
Jason thinks that that's the guy he was thinking of, not
it's
DK.
possible, yeah, because he did a lot of similar things. So Damon Kenny created a whole pile of fake accounts. So he did fake AJ Clements. He did a Bloogle man, a Blogle man, a Blagal man, a Blagil man account. So he did sort of 5 or 6 of me. He did 6 fake ooks. He had a whole pile like atheism is a cult, friendsisms are immoral. He had a lot of that sort of stuff in it. North Korea is the best Korea.
Was that
Atheism,
DK?
yeah, I think so.
Oh, because I think some of you guys think that who is that? The 50 alts guy. Can't remember his. I I thought you guys were saying that they were saying, but it didn't seem like they were. Um, and he was the. I think that was the one that was using the North Korea as the best Korea. I didn't think it was DK.
Yeah. Let's see.
Because I mean, I
And
have to say, the monkey really doesn't. He doesn't go too much into the kind of the anti-trans, anti-gay thing.
yeah, he's moved away from all of that, more so to hang out in this space of trying to pretend he's sort of knows what he's talking about philosophically.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I
see.
get a sense that he's reading some stuff. It's just that he can't seem to really grasp the concepts of the things that he's reading. I mean, he just gets it so wrong. Let's see.
It's fairly as we've discussed. It's fairly common. You get that exact outcome with a lot of them. I do sometimes wonder whether engaging with these types makes any sense,
Yeah.
or it actually causes more sort of harm than good, because essentially when they get pushback from us, they dig in deeper and become more and more sort of radical in their perspective.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it makes any difference, but I don't directly respond to the monkey, and generally, I don't even respond to anything he says. But just recently, I've started responding to him more. Again, not directly, but just kind of sideways. But yeah, I don't think that that makes much of a difference. But uh, at least there are some where I've really stopped responding. Like I don't put anything on in. in Sparty's comment, and there are a few others where, I don't really do anything. And even like Jim, I haven't, or I don't, but I have been trying to get him to at least, you know, push him to get on this live stream so that we can at least kind of directly confront him, along with Pokey. I just want to, just be able to kind of talk face to face, so to speak, and then kind of push them on all these kind of stupid things that they say.
Other issue that seems to be happening is that over the last 2 years, YouTube has essentially stopped enforcing its policies when it comes to hate speech and spam and the likes, and accounts, like, you really have to work hard these days to get an account banned. The fact that Spartan can write what he does and just spam the same sort of just filthy hate speech, just loathing, awful behavior, and nothing happens is, remarkable. Whereas these others, there's a reason why they have sort of 50 accounts, is because back in the day they used to get canned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the reporting having any impact, at least not anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to, no, not a lot.
Yeah, one thing I did find is that, now that I'm getting like comments on my channel, uh, the the comment section in the atheist experience, they have it kind of locked down quite a bit. You obviously can't put up any links, but it seems like they are preventing some mentions of other platforms. So if you mention Discord or whatever, like Clubhouse, other debate platforms, it would always get deleted. So they have their own filter that they're putting in, or maybe they're just putting uh, a level, or I think there's like different levels you can put in on the comments, and maybe they just have it at the highest level.
Yeah, and I think that might be the case. You've got certain. There was this setting, and I can't remember what it's called, but it was a beta setting for reducing spam, and I suspect that uh, AXP has that setting. So as a result, you get a lot of posts ghosted.
Yeah.
Whereas over on other channels, like, I had a previous account, which nobody can see any of the posts anymore from they're all there. The account hasn't been deleted. The posts all exist, but they're all hidden as a result of this particular setting. So there actually, there's another level above ghosting, such that it's not only ghosted, but even when you sort by newest first, you still can't see it unless you're the person who posted it, or I assume a moderator. So yeah, that account is essentially non-functional from the perspective of AXP. Whereas I have managed to successfully post stuff with it on another channel. I can't remember which one it was, but that was visible. So it's definitely a setting that AXP have, which tightens up the anti-troll stuff. But what that tends to do is not catch the trolls. It only catches the people who hang around all the time, because the trolls just delete comments, so the comments don't accrue, and they go along and use multiple accounts, so that the rate at which the negativity accrues to the account is reduced, so it avoids it.
Yeah, I wish that at least you knew what kind of the limits are, what things would trigger that filters. And And also that if it does get ghosted or filtered, I wish there was some kind of feedback to the, person who made that comment so that there's something in your post that triggers something.
Yeah, and I understand the reason why they don't do it, because if you tell someone what the specifics of what
Yeah.
caused the thing, then you just avoid that and you can circumvent their protections, which is very, very annoying.
Yeah. And it's interesting because even if you try to, find ways around it, like code the information some way, they seem really good about detecting it. Like for example, obviously this makes sense, but they prevent phone numbers being posted. But I've like tried to put in phone numbers in kind of different ways, and they still catch it. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because scammers
Yeah.
really make use of that. So I suspect they have devoted quite a lot of resources to catching phone numbers. There used to be a bot swarm that you saw all the time, who was posting stuff. Bitcoin is a
Yeah.
Bitcoin scammer, and they would post up stuff, and there'd be 20 or 30. Sometimes I've seen that thing get over 100 likes for that particular account, which means they have over 100 bots in the
Yeah.
swarm doing the liking, and then it's this fake conversation about, oh, he's wonderful. I made all this money. You
Yeah.
can get in contact with him this way. All these different fake accounts, and yeah, there was a bunch of those, but I haven't seen them for a while. So YouTube seems
Yeah.
to have managed to nail down that particular scam.
Well, they
So
could be
yeah,
going to other channels.
um, well, it's possible, but it's possible it's just a YouTube-wide thing that they've managed
Yeah.
to have the sort of the AI drive that they've got checking comments, be able to spot that pattern of behaviour. So that
Yeah, I
pattern no longer
imagine
works.
it's a cat and mouse thing where, one develops gets ahead and then the other one has to kind of find ways around it. So at
Mm,
some point, they're gonna find a better spam bot and then YouTube will have to take some time to try to detect it.
yeah.
Yeah, so, Sparty's, his accusation of everyone being a bot and, that there's actually like we are all bots. I mean, it makes like no sense. Anyone who knows anything about software would know that the ACA wouldn't be able to develop this type of sophisticated bot, but, he obviously doesn't care.
Yeah. I see in the comments some discussion about 10 Minutes Underwater guy, and yeah, he used the account name Kevin Jensen for a while, and that's his actual name.
Okay.
But yeah, here's a bunch of his sort of names. So he had a whole pile. Um, yeah, as a side boob. Was it side boob? Yeah, brain in a vat, Matt. That's exactly right. Um, so there's Ben Matten, who never knew lay down Matt, Jim Crow, your brain made you say that. Brain in a vat, Matt, I've got that. Anti-atheist, incapable of experiencing God. Atheism equals troll food. Dave Miller, catch me if you can. Mr. Stripey Dog. But yeah, Kevin from Oregon is the thing. But yeah, he also did a fake Ministry of Arguments account, and yeah, Matt's bring your fucking A game next time was just priceless.
He says that a lot though.
Yeah,
So
but in this case, it was fucking brutal. That it was the second time he'd called in, so there is second or third time he'd called in, but I think by that stage, I don't know, maybe got Matt on a day when his blood sugar was low and his tolerance was even lower.
Huh. Interesting.
So we've also mentioned Ronnie Alexander. He's another interesting one. Who, yeah, he really does live deep in the hate. In a lot of ways, similar to Jim Castleberry. But I did find it interesting that he I don't know, he must have gone and talked to his preacher or something one day, and he got a absolute hammering from the guy for the behaviour. He's come in and apologised to everybody and deleted his account and went away. And then he couldn't help himself and he had to come back and created his new account, and then pretty well immediately got straight back into the thing he was doing that he was sorry for previously.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that. That was like maybe a couple years ago or a year ago. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun too, because I've got a standard post about failed prophecy. There's a bunch in there. Things like the prophecy against Tyre is a particularly good one, and the various elements of it. Not only wasn't Tyre destroyed, the wars against it didn't work in the way that it was claimed either. Anyhow, Ronnie decided that he would create a series of videos that debunked what and proved that that I was wrong. These aren't failed prophecies, and they were pretty bad. And I'm really disappointed that I didn't take copies of them so I could repost and put them up there. He eventually went and deleted, not only hid the videos, but deleted the account the videos were connected to. So that's all
a
gone.
shame.
But
Yeah, that's a shame.
But yeah, he was he was also so angry about the whole situation that he refused to acknowledge where or who he was responding to. He was just writing these videos, and you just go, "That's hilarious." He couldn't give credit to anyone for being the person he was breaking up or attacking. So yeah, but we don't see very much of him these days.
Well, have you seen the videos where Michelangelo Pay, he's called in, and he's called in 2 times now to Talk Heathen.
No, I have not. I was unaware of that.
Yeah, you should. I think he called in last week in Talk Heathen, so take a look at Talk Heathen.
Do you remember what he called himself?
He just called himself Michael, and he said he was from Spain. So
right, easy to find.
Yeah. Actually, let me see.
Evening.
Hello. Did you get the time zone wrong?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I suspect that's what's happened. Well, it's it was only QC and myself.
No.
Okay. So here's Talk Heathen. And actually, I guess I can't search it this way. But yeah, he dialed in as Michael Pay. So I think he dialed in last week.
Things could occur today.
Hold
on. Who dialed in?
No, that's not it.
This is Michelangelo P.
Yeah. I think it was the week before. He dialed in. It's not Michael CA. Was it like, oh no, was it the week before then? Oh yeah, Miguel from Spain.
Oh yeah, that's definitely his argument.
Oh
if
wow,
the logical fallacy. Yeah. Yep. I will.
I thought he actually did okay when he called in. This is the second time. I think he called in the week before that. And he was just kind of making his case, and he didn't do too bad. So, yeah, so I thought it was okay. And compared to his posting, which I think is just complete rubbish, I don't even read anything beyond like the first sentence. But I thought it was okay. I mean, obviously it was wrong, and he was still, um, basically putting up a straw man argument, but it wasn't too bad. Okay, we have Jason K. Hello. I figured everyone was gonna dial in at around 9 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
If you found out who Michelangelo was on the show, because it's Miguel, so we called in on him.
Continuing on with our
Yep.
theme of criticizing.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think it's worthwhile listening to a little bit of it and kind of compare to, the stuff that he posts all the time.
Sure.
I'm of the opinion he's a relatively fine theist on the comment section. He's he tends not to be super insulting. He tends not to be super bigoted. He's generally low key compared to some of the other clowns. So yeah,
Like DK and Neppy.
Yeah, I guess I think you're right. Just in terms of what he says, it is relatively, from a tone point of view, it's better. It's just that I wish he wouldn't just he would learn how to make paragraphs. So
Yes.
yeah, he did that once. He did a post with paragraphs and then immediately stopped doing it again after he got compliments for it.
yeah,
And you
I
just go,
remember that.
I do sort of wonder what is the point of that wall of text, because no matter who it is, Michelangelo P, Neppy will just post up just thousands and thousands and thousands of words as all one. They do they actually expect people to read all of that, especially when they cut and paste over and over again?
Yeah. I mean, just look at this wall of text right here. I mean, I'm not going to go beyond like a sentence. And it's always same.
I do love the bit where he's there saying, atheists say Spinoza's God is just the universe, exactly like atheism. I haven't read Spinoza, but I don't think that's true. And you just go, oh. Like, if you don't know, go and look it up.
Yeah. Well, remember, these folks are not known for their research skills, like any of them.
No, motivated research.
Well, yeah.
Well, one
Okay.
thing is when he says he's a psychologist, because when he called in, he specifically apparently told the screener that he's a psychologist. So the host got that information and even called it out. I really highly doubt he's a psychologist. I get a feeling that maybe he kind of like read about psychology and he kind of calls himself a psychologist, but I can't imagine he has actually a psychology degree.
Well, remember that in the comment section, you can be whoever you want.
Yeah, you could be a retired millionaire medical doctor.
Just as a random example.
Or a physicist and engineer. Hang
Yeah.
on.
Oh yeah, a mechanical engineer who doesn't know anything about units.
A physicist and electrical engineer. I'm taking a little poke at myself.
Yeah.
But this comment that he makes, Miguel makes, the truth is atheism is a logical fallacy that assumes God is the religious idea of the creator of the creation. I mean, which is completely wrong. Atheism isn't assuming a specific religious creator.
Well, and you'll notice though, if you ask sort of the inverse of that, when you ask them, when you say God, what do you mean? They can never actually go past any of that surface level. Well, the creator of all things. They are my God is, out of existed outside of time and space. Okay, so what does that mean? They can never answer like anything beyond surface level, what they learned in Sunday school and never questioned.
Well, they're just making an ad hoc justification. It's like,
Sure.
well, God has to be out of our space time because he's eternal. It's like they're just. I mean, where in the Bible does it say that?
Well, again, you're asking them to have a level of understanding of their own holy books that they've never been challenged before. That I know enough about the structure of argument and the structure of oratory. I can tell when somebody is spewing off something that they've just never given any real thought to. That's why DK and Neppy get so frustrated when you actually ask them those deeper questions. That's why Jim Edith Castleberry just calls people liars all the time, because they've never had to think.
Well, it's a
Hey,
literal ad
John?
hominem fallacy, what Jim does.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
John, have you ever had the opportunity to get into this sort of philosophical discussion with a Muslim?
So I have a relative who was once married to a Muslim. They're divorced now. So
Yeah.
So I've had experience with other faiths other than Judeo-Christian faiths. And it's it. Go
The
ahead.
reason I'm asking
Yeah.
is because what I found is, you see the quality of the rhetoric. Essentially, what you get a lot of with these types of guys in Christianity is regurgitating half-understood snippets from the likes of William Lane Craig, for example.
Sure, yeah.
And Christianity, to give it some credit, has put, because there isn't it's allowed to argue within Christianity what things mean. There's a lot more provision within it. So Christianity has spent a lot of time arguing with other Christians about what stuff means. So the quality of their arguments tend to be bad, but then you go along and talk to, you have the same type of discussion with a Muslim, and the quality of those type of arguments are childish in comparison to the quality of the Christian arguments, because basically, you're not allowed to make any of essentially the questioning process, the arguing process is so severely limited that they don't really have any solid foundation for their theology.
And there's a base. There's a theory of history to that, which is that because Christianity has been able to, through the sword, dominate so much of the planet, that just by sheer fact of the raw number of people that identify as Christians has been allowed to grow. The byproduct of that is the 44,000 different unique sects of Christianity, and
that's in the US alone.
What's up?
Just in the USA alone. Yeah.
Sorry, I fall victim to, because the predominance of my upbringing and education and knowledge comes from a U.S. and Western perspective. I fall to the I forget that the rest of the world has history as well. Sometimes that's on me. But yeah, no, but that theory is one of the reasons why Christians arguments, but also why individual sects hold them so deeply, is because is a byproduct of that being able to argue back and forth over centuries and over millions and millions, if not billions, of people.
Yeah, and the Muslim faith has less allowance for that type of argument, and it tolerates less interaction with non-believers. So as a result, yeah, when I've had a few of these conversations with Muslims, yes, the quality of it, and it's not just. I should place a caveat on that also. It's not just the quality of the given person. So not only did I, when I was doing that, have the discussion with the person, it might just be that the person's understanding is low. I went to numerous Muslim apologetics websites seeking, what they think is quality argumentation, and they're very, very poor in comparison to Christianity, which is not good. So
yeah, like you're already starting with a low bar, and you're not even reaching that.
Yeah, it's not close.
It's interesting. What's his name? The logical Muslim.
Yes, illogical.
Yeah, it shows
Muslim,
up will show up every so often, and if it's in the Quran, it must be true, and I know that it's true because it's in the Quran.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's the proof that the Quran is perfect, whereby you're required to write a chapter like the Quran, and it has to be better than the Quran, and that will be judged by two people who signed on. Will be judged by a bunch of people who signed on to the premise that the Quran is the perfect text. And you just go, it's not starting from a level playing field. Yes, you've already pre-decided the outcome before you even have a challenger.
Because that's what Allah demands.
Yeah.
And therefore must be right. Okay. Oh, I had two questions that I wanted to put out there. Since we're talking about the sort of the comment section broadly. So tomorrow the wackadoodles are likely to really be out in force.
Why do you say that?
Because tomorrow is Easter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here wondering, okay, do I actually put in look, I'm gonna have a couple 3 hours on my hands tomorrow. I will be spending it with family. I go obviously for the cultural gathering of the tribe, but also having some time to actually hang out in the comment section. They're gonna be wackier than usual. At least that's my prediction. That's my prophecy. I don't know. Is it worth it to? Oh, there's a thunderstorm here starting. So if I blink out, that's why. Thor apparently doesn't like what I'm saying, so I might get taken off the air. Do we take the time to really play whack-a-mole with the theists tomorrow, or just let them tire themselves out?
I've noticed that some of the regular trolls don't respond to the live one, but they'll respond to the video that comes out afterwards.
Yeah. The one that I've been kind of poking at and managed to get some response out of lately is Throne of David.
Yeah,
I
think
what's that?
He puts up a lot of kind of bait comments, right?
Yeah.
Chris Matthew.
So here's what I've noticed. He is quite possibly one of the intellectually laziest of all of the theists. And
I don't know. That's kind of. I think
well,
that's a tough trophy.
What's that?
I think that's a tough trophy to get. There's just so
true,
many.
True. But look at his pattern. Make a flame comment to get people to respond, and then just write these really dumb, pithy, meaningless questions upon questions upon questions, and never bothers to actually really address too much. First century former rabbi got. Oh, is this who is this who are these the handles of? Blarg?
Sorry, say again.
You said you put up the names for. Oh, is this Throne of David?
Yes, it's,
Oh, okay.
it's Chris Matty, some of his previous ones.
Yeah, but you'll notice he gets real tired of me real quick. I got him to admit that he thinks that Hitler is God, and I never quite let go of that one. And I can't decide if I can't decide if that's a bridge too far in terms of poking back at these folks.
I just feel like there isn't much payback for some of these kind of poking them with the same thing over and over. I mean, I don't think these guys care.
Well, no, it's never about whether or not they care, but the other people in the room, the other people in the comment section. I guess it's what are we really doing it to convince Throne of David, Neppy, Jim Castleberry, or whatever, or is it so that if a new person does come along, they see just how void of content and void of thinking these folks really are?
I feel like we've gotten to the point where we are all just kind of talking to each other. When we make these comments, just because all the regulars kind of know each other.
Yeah.
A lot of comments are, kind of almost like, directed at some of the other guys to say, hey, respond to this, or like, pile on to this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What I do enjoy is occasionally you'll get you'll get an honest. They're usually relatively new to the comment section, and you'll occasionally get someone, and they're just so rare and so precious when it happens. You get someone who's actually genuinely honest and wants to interact, a theist, and those are the types of people who are far more interesting. Like one of the people I talked to was he described himself as a psychopath who, like a diagnosed psychopath, not a self-diagnosed, who's been in therapy his entire life. So he's an interesting person, and has had to construct an entire way of looking at the world in order to avoid going down the path most psychopaths go, so he doesn't end up in jail.
Right.
Because he enjoys his freedom, so he's had to construct a sort of a framework to mirror the outcomes of morality. Now that was a really unusual and interesting discussion. And then there was another guy who's I was a bit narky when he first sort of came in, because it was I've had these things and there's these giant walls of tech, the same sort of thing. But as time went on, and you could see he was relatively, he was wordy, but he was not necessarily a particularly angry person. And I sort of calmed down a little bit and sort of looked a bit more at what's going on there, and realized that this guy almost certainly suffers from a type of temporal lobe epilepsy called Geschwin syndrome. And he was unaware of it. He was having, he'd had a couple of these overwhelming spiritual events in his life. And when I sort of brought this up, and I'd done a bit of discussion with him prior to getting him to that point, he was really good about the thing. He's like, I did not know that existed, and I will definitely go and talk to my doctor about it. And you're just going, well, that is a real surprise, because a lot of people, they're not interested in discovering the fact that their religious belief is based upon a a mental an abnormality in their brain. But this guy was really good. So they're the sort of people that I actually enjoy talking to, whereas the other ones, I don't know. I should avoid them more often.
Yeah,
They,
I think you're right. I mean, I think we should avoid the regular trolls as much as we can. It's just that I wish there was more of these kind of uh, theists who want to have a good faith conversation, even if I agree with them. And a lot of times I have to kind of be careful just because, um, I don't want to come off sounding, too abrasive to someone who's maybe new to the comment section, just because
Right.
they
Yeah.
might be good faith.
Sure. Which is one of the reasons why, if I see somebody that I don't recognize, at least in my desired approach of this, my question of what is the best, strongest evidence you have that proves your deity exists, that's meant that's meant as an opening to the conversation. It's not meant as it's not meant in the challenge the way that I do with Neppy or with Jim, or when I start kind of swatting at them. It really is meant as, okay, well, what have you got? What is the best evidence you have? Let's have this conversation. Or the one that I've started asking now, which is, all right, so what is your epistemology? Like, how do you determine that something is true?
Yeah, I think the former is probably not as good as the second option that you had, because I think the former kind of comes off as like a big challenge, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's better to just try to. I mean, like what you're asking, what is your epistemology? I think that's a good way to start, to say, how do you determine what is right or wrong in order for you to say that your belief in God is right or wrong?
Okay. Is there a way that you would recommend phrasing the first question? Or is there no way to ask that question that's not going to come across as challenging, accusatory? Like, I don't even know if I'm asking you the question right.
No, I get what you're saying. I think, at least for the opening, you kind of have to say, um, like, what evidence do you have to believe God exists? Or why do you think God exists? I think it just needs to be, that should be the starting point. And then you
Yeah,
eventually get
a
to the
little more
point.
open ended. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's part of the same sort of format the show sort of uses. What do you believe and why?
Yeah.
Gives them an
Yes.
open ended question that isn't challenging. It isn't confrontational.
Yeah, what
And
Sideboob put up in the comments, I
Yeah.
think that's good. What convinced you to believe what you do? I think that's a good opening.
Yeah.
Or an iteration of that. What convinced you that your deity exists?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, and
I guess,
then eventually you get to the point where they give you all these kind of like fallacious reasoning, right? But
yeah.
at least you get it started.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely say, Boob, if you can hear me, man, that's actually a really good that's a better wording than what I've got. I really appreciate that. Because so one of the things that I talk about, I do have a brother who is conservative Catholic. And I mean, he and I haven't agreed on much since we were children. But a lot of my style does come from the fact that just my brother and I have had this. We've been going at it tooth and nail for many decades now. So I think that may kind of, they may on an unintentional level come across in some of my more combative questions. I don't know if that helps with creating context, because you asked last week about sort of the atheist journey, and I didn't go too far down much of the explanations, but I know that I've mentioned my brother before.
Yeah. I think, maybe this is something in the future we can kind of go into a little bit more. But, I think we had quite a few people there, and we had some pretty good, stories. I
Yeah.
liked Ooks. I was just really surprised that he actually meant that he was related to a real pope. But yeah, and I didn't really get into too much into my journey as well. But yeah, I think that's something it might be interesting to explore more
Yeah.
in future sessions.
You saw, I did post up a little explanation about mine being that I couldn't make it to the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, mine I don't think was as interesting as as many of the others who come from a position of belief and then have had to deconstruct or walked a different path. Mine's been a bit of an easier path.
Yeah, and like I can't remember who was telling their story, but right away Florida came on and he started saying things about, oh, you guys are full of hatred for God and all that. And even though like there wasn't anything even close to that, but
Yeah.
maybe I think, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I do find it fascinating that Florida talked about being here, and then all of a sudden today he couldn't.
Well, I mean, I think, I mean, I accept his reason that he had some family thing come up. If he avoids the session next week, then it might indicate he's kind of afraid
Yeah.
of kind of having multiple atheists on the same platform that who could grill him, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm certainly willing to talk to the guy flat out.
Yeah.
I know he has particular feelings and opinions about me, but that's in part due to the way that I interacted with him. So I'm a big boy. I can take my lumps.
Yeah, I just want it to be controlled, so it's not just
Yeah.
people kind of, over talking each other. So,
Sure.
I'm going to try to be, if he does come on, try to be the moderator and set specific time limits for both sides.
And I want to hear what he has to say again, because I'm still willing to give him credit for being the only theist to put to put himself out there. To actually come into the group to debate you, etc. So I'm still willing to give him credit to that extent, but so far I've yet to hear him say anything new. Like
Yep.
there's nothing there's no deep thought there. I can't. He talks about how he's done this research and he's come to these conclusions. No, he hasn't.
Yeah, he hasn't.
He's parroting talking points that I've heard countless times.
Yeah, so I was optimistic, at the debate, and but the postings he put, which were just complete misrepresentation of what I said,
Yeah.
that whole thing about saying that I admitted to being an agnostic, that just really kind of, threw me, and he just came off as being completely dishonest.
I mean, this is where I would say something snarky like, at heart, all theists are dishonest. But I don't know. It just every so often, like when DK first when DK first started showing up in the comment section, I at least thought, okay, well, here's a commenter who at least is coming at this from a quasi philosophical perspective. And he disintegrated it into just a lying shit poster real
Yep.
quickly.
Yep.
Him and 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh yeah. He's never been particularly good. Just straight hate.
Yeah, I want to say that there was a couple of weeks when the very first time I ever started interacting with him, the first couple of weeks or so, he at least seemed to be trying to construct a logical argument, even if he didn't have he knew that he didn't have the evidence, so he's working off of trying to create a logic structure. And it just seems like within a couple of weeks, like it didn't take long before he became just another pooflinger.
Yeah, with him, I'm a little bit sort of not certain where he fits, because there's been a couple, like he's a little bit of a brighter one. So he's a little bit brighter than your average Theus troll that we get in here. So there's been a couple of other ones. A guy that called himself Kevin Berger or Francis Snowflake, and various versions of that for a while. And I wonder whether it's the same guy. But he's learned to delete stuff, so it's harder to follow, and he's got a new script to work on. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I can usually tell who's using it, who's got what sock puppet account, just by looking at the pattern and how they construct their arguments and words that they use. Part of my background is in pattern recognition, specifically with how it relates to how people talk, like the mechanics of it, the frequency of vocabulary. I kind of leave it at that because I really don't want to go into what I do for a living. But that's that's kind of one of the games that I play, is trying to figure out who's got what sock puppet accounts. I haven't seen Gigawatt pop up the last, I don't know, couple 3 weeks. Has anybody else seen him?
No, not for a while.
No.
Have you encountered a character called Realist? So real, REALEST, REALIST. So he's the realist.
Yeah. Clever.
It is a pretty good thing. That guy is another one that I'm not 100% certain isn't Francis Snowflake.
Okay.
Those two are very, very similar, and yeah, I do wonder whether, if they are two different people, whether Gigawatts is one of those. So two. So yeah, it's a bit hard to split them, but it's been a while since they're posting under that sort of name.
All right. Well, we're at hour and a half mark. I know, John, you only had 30 minutes here, but I don't want these streams to get too much past hour and a half. So we'll stop it here, and I hope you guys can join us for next week.
Right. Oh, hey, real quick question.
Yeah.
QC. It looks like I've tried to post a couple of comments, and it says this comment has failed to post to QC.
On my channel?
Yeah, like just now. So Sideboob was saying John is obviously a government agent. So I responded with, I will neither confirm nor deny.
Let me see if that's like held for review. No, it doesn't show up as anything being held for review.
Sometimes it's just a connection issue. I'll occasionally get one that fails to post. You just copy the text, try it again. It worked fine the second time.
Yeah,
Just give it a
especially if you
go.
got an error message, it's more likely a connection issue.
Yeah, okay. Yes, clearly I'm being shadow banned.
Yeah. Also look for where the person's name you're responding to suddenly turns into a string of random characters. When you attempt to post it, that's usually a good indication that that something went haywire, and it will work fine. Just copy the text and then have another go at posting, and it usually works fine on the second go.
All right, we'll figure that out. Oh, you know what? That's a good point. I haven't actually officially logged in So that could be the other reason why I haven't, why it's not letting me post the comment. Oh well, I'll keep that in mind for next time.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. Thanks, Blar, for joining on time. So hopefully
Yeah.
next week we'll get more people
Almost
showing
on
up on
time.
time.
Almost.
All right. See you
So,
guys.
all right,
Cheers.
y'all.